Said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that?
One thing to casually criticize your favorite politician, but it's a whole different spectacle when you call them out on live television. And that's exactly what Bill Maher just did. Maher has often admired Gavin Newsom, rarely missing a chance to praise him. But this time, his patience snapped. Even he seems fed up with the California governor's endless political circus. And he didn't hold back. On a recent episode of his show, the comedian unleashed a scathing critique, tearing into Newsom's leadership and the mess California has become under his watch. The takedown was nothing short of brutal. If you crave more bold and unfiltered commentary like this, you'll definitely want to stick around.
Gavin Newsom is the governor of California, home to 12% of all Americans and 50% of all Mexicans. On the upside, Newsom is the only governor, with the possible exception of Kristi Noem, who looks like they could do porn.
Did Bill Maher really just say that the highlight?
Bill Maher really just claimed that Gavin Newsom's biggest legacy is looking like he belongs in the adult film industry? That's not a playful jab. That's a full-on knockout blow, especially coming from someone who once praised him endlessly. Picture this. You're the governor of one of America's most powerful states, and your greatest achievement is your looks fit for an X-rated role? Of all the supposed accomplishments Newsom proudly parades, Maher reduced it to a career path fit for parody. And that says everything. When your most loyal supporter publicly roasts you like this, it screams just how badly California's leadership has failed. If your number one fan is mocking you, your political brand is already circling the drain.
I don't want to say I don't want to say he really, really wants to be the guy who steps in if the current nominee goes down, but he gets an alert on his phone every time Biden can't think of a word. The downside is that governor of California is kind of like being conservator for Britney Spears. They'll attack him on California's homeless problem, but there's a response to that. The homeless can live anywhere, but they choose California.
The reality is hard to ignore. California has practically rolled out the red carpet for the homeless. And why wouldn't they flock there? The state's laws have made life not just easy, but inviting, creating a haven where they feel welcomed rather than helped. But let's not dress it up as compassion. This isn't kindness, it's chaos. Under Gavin Newsom's leadership, homelessness hasn't simply risen, it has exploded. Instead of confronting the crisis with tough, practical solutions, his policies have enabled it, turning sidewalks into sprawling tent cities and entire neighborhoods into open-air shelters. And the problem doesn't end there. Newsom's soft stance on crime, consistently siding with offenders over victims, has fueled California's growing lawlessness. Break the law, and you might only get a slap on the wrist. Homelessness up, crime up, quality of life down. That, in a nutshell, is the Newsom legacy.
Of course, the knock on Gavin has always been that he's slick. Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with that. I notice slick is something no one has been accusing Biden of lately. Do you want good at talking or don't you? Newsom is the best communicator in the party with a history of standing up to bullies, and his name lends itself to the best slogan since I Like Ike. I'm having Gavin.
At long last, Bill Maher has said what many Californians have been whispering for years. Gavin Newsom is little more than a polished politician. Smooth-talking, charming, and camera-ready on the surface. But beneath all that shine, empty words and hollow promises, Newsom has perfected the art of saying a whole lot of nothing. He's the king of political rambling, delivering flashy speeches that dodge the tough questions and gloss over his failures. Sure, he can charm a crowd, but charm doesn't fix soaring homelessness, rising crime, or a collapsing quality of life. He's mastered the skill of slipping out of sticky situations with carefully rehearsed rhetoric. But let's be honest, is that real leadership? Do we want a governor who promises the moon but delivers dust? Californians deserve solutions, not sound bites. And if Maher, a man who once admired him, is now calling him out, maybe it's time the rest of the country wakes up too.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, "Who do you want for running president?" I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win.
Anyone with a shred of common sense can see it. Gavin Newsom doesn't stand a real chance at the presidency, not after what he's done to California. His track record is a disaster that even the slickest PR campaign can't hope to disguise. Across the state, frustration is boiling over. Residents openly complain about the low depths to which California has been dragged under his watch. Once a shining hub for innovation, business, and prosperity, the Golden State has now become a place companies are fleeing in droves. Major corporations have packed up, taking with them countless jobs and opportunities. High-profile individuals are leaving too, unwilling to endure his reckless economic policies. Add to that a shrinking middle class and skyrocketing living costs, and it's no surprise California's mass exodus is breaking records. And here's the kicker. Even many Democrats think he's gone too far. When voters on the far left start calling you too progressive, you know you're national.
Look at the swing states. There's only 8 of them.
Right. Well, I mean, California is an interesting case study, isn't it? It's the size of 21 state populations combined.
Yeah.
2/3 of the state is very deeply red. We don't need to be lectured on rural politics or border issues. I mean, in so many ways, these are familiar issues, and the issues of the heartland of the United States are very much a part and parcel of the work we're doing in this state. But look, I understand this notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things. You can't talk the language. You're not able to communicate. And you're not able to actually encourage and find that common ground.
No, it's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department. Stuff like that.
Here, Bill Maher hits the nail squarely on the head. What's dragging Gavin Newsom down isn't just the exploding homelessness crisis or California's collapsing economy. It's the non-stop woke circus he's been proudly cheerleading. Across the country, voters are exhausted from having identity politics forced into every corner of their lives. And under Newsom's leadership, California has become ground zero for it. The state now boasts some of the most woke laws in America. And Maher didn't hesitate to highlight one of the most absurd examples. In Newsom's California, any toy store with more than 500 employees is required by law to have a gender-neutral section. Because apparently, kids can't simply play with toys anymore. They have to make a political statement while doing it. As if we live in a world where people have no gender at all. This kind of tone-deaf policymaking is exactly what makes average voters roll their eyes and say, yeah, this guy could never be president.
Government, too much government there.
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that. And they were the ones making a case for that. They were making us, they're already moving in that direction.
Why did you make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know the top priorities are homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all top of mind.
And right there, you see his slick talk in action, the classic politician's trick. No one is accusing Gavin Newsom of being blind to California's problems. Of course he knows they exist. Everyone does. Homelessness is spiraling out of control. Crime is climbing in major cities. Taxes are sky high, and businesses are fleeing the state in record numbers. These aren't secrets. They're daily headlines splashed across every news outlet. But the real issue isn't awareness. It's action. Knowing the house is on fire doesn't make you a hero. What matters is grabbing a hose and putting out the flames. Yet Newsom hides behind smooth speeches and catchy buzzwords, pretending that mere acknowledgement counts as leadership. It doesn't. Words don't build affordable housing, lower crime, or balance a budget. Action does. And California is still waiting for him to deliver.
Good job this year making it rain.
You're welcome. That was my legislative priority.
It was looking bad there for a while, and we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever I read, 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds.
Right.
No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds.
Yep, you heard that right. Nearly 80% of California's water supply is devoured by agriculture. And a massive share of that precious resource goes straight into growing almonds. Think about the irony for a moment. This is a state infamous for its relentless droughts, where wildfires blaze almost every summer, and where residents are constantly scolded to cut down on showers and let their lawns die to save water. Yet, behind the scenes, billions of gallons are being funneled into almond orchards. Why? Because almonds are California's golden cash crop, and big agriculture has the political power to keep the water flowing their way. Meanwhile, ordinary Californians are told to ration like it's the apocalypse. The irony is brutal. In a land plagued by fire and thirst, California's water isn't saving its people. It's being used to grow nuts.
So, a boatload of
I'm
almonds
well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds. Come on, man. take on big almond.
Big on.
I mean, it's not like we don't have the water.
No.
But
You're right about it. It's not that we don't have the water. That said, the last couple of years were tough. I mean, but it's also where the water's falling and we're not capturing it. And we're not capturing in those extreme years with these atmospheric rivers. Wets are getting a lot wetter, dry's drier, hot's getting a lot hotter. And so we've got to modernize our conveyance system. We've got to modernize our storage, not just above ground, but below ground. And so that's a big part of our focus and frame, including desalinization plants. We have 20 projects just on desal that we're working on today. So we put out a detailed water strategy that includes, by the way, getting that Delta conveyance project back up and operational, and includes the first above ground off stream storage facility in half a century in the state, which, by the way, is being aided by a regulatory package I pushed forward to reduce red tape in the state of.
When it comes to delivering slick, polished answers, no one outshines Gavin Newsom. The man could sell sand in the desert with how smooth he sounds. Every press conference, every interview, he talks a big game. You'd think he's reinventing leadership and tackling problems with bold, groundbreaking solutions. But peel back the flashy words, and the reality is far less impressive. He isn't solving the crises Californians face every single day. He's simply mastered the art of political theater. Homelessness continues to skyrocket. Crime plagues major cities. Businesses keep fleeing under crushing taxes. And yet, Newsom talks as if the state is thriving. It's all performance, not progress. His greatest skill isn't governance, it's spin. Speeches might win applause, but they don't fix streets, lower living costs, or make Californians safer. Words can dazzle, but they can't deliver.
You're good at this.
What?
I'm telling you're good at this job. Okay, but here's, I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state, and I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. There's been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country. That said, I'm not going to sit back and watch. You made the point just a moment ago in your monologue. You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse, rolling back voting rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, not just access to abortion, but contraception.
Look at his record. A once golden state is now drowning in homelessness. Businesses fleeing in droves. Sky-high taxes crushing the middle class. And cities plagued by crime and addiction. California should be a model of prosperity with its wealth, resources, and innovation. Instead, under Newsom's leadership, it has become a cautionary tale. He's mastered the art of pushing woke talking points while ignoring the real struggles of everyday citizens. If this California blueprint is what he wants to sell to the rest of America, consider it a blueprint for decline. Slick speeches can't hide reality. Strip away the media spin, the carefully crafted image and the designer suits. The truth about leaders like Obama and Newsom becomes clear. They thrive on charm, illusions, and woke theatrics, while real problems like crime, homelessness, border security, and the economy only get worse. Obama sold hope, but delivered division. Newsom sold the California dream, but left the state broken. Now some want to hand him the keys to the country, but America can't afford another illusionist in power. What we need are problem solvers, not performers. California was the warning shot. Ignore it, and the entire nation will pay the price. And with that, we come to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.